listening to Yolanda Robinson in the Know. Viewing audience, you know what? Credit is so important. And Linco Realtor wants you to have good credit because when you come to buy your house and everything, purchase your house, you're going to need to have good credit to save money and everything. So we are bringing to the Yolanda Robinson show Tammy Vance, who is with Advanced Credit, and we're going to talk about credit repair. So Tammy is on the line. Tammy, how are you doing today?
I am doing great.
Oh,
Stay
Tammy,
positive.
could you tell people about how long have you been in the credit repair business and why did you get started?
I've been in the business for approximately 37 years.
Wow.
And I got started because I had to figure out how to help my clients get into a mortgage loan and get qualified. So,
Uh-huh.
it's something that's part of the business that we continually look and consult our customers on how to increase their scores so they can get the best rates and get approved. So it started there, and then
Uh-huh.
we took it to a whole nother level where we actually are doing credit repair
Oh.
other than consulting. So we're taking
Now,
it to the next level. We're helping, we're doing the disputes, et cetera, because people won't do it on their own, or they're not consistently doing it to make a difference.
mm-hmm. So credit repair, is it really worth it? And how long does it really take to get your credit back in good shape?
Yes, it's worth it because, of course, you don't want inaccurate information on your credit report. So you definitely want to keep look at your credit report on a regular basis and make sure that it's 100% accurate, because that's what you deserve. Because inaccurate information is going to lead to denials or higher interest rates, etc. So if you want to get approved, you got to continuously correct the information on your report because it's always inaccurate. A lot of times it's inaccurate. A lot of information, from personal information to addresses, to trade lines, to lates, to identity theft and fraud, etc., is always on your credit report. So you have to keep an eye on that, because credit is king, just like cash is. So you can't always pay cash for everything. So you have to make sure your credit is also clean in case you need it.
Oh, okay. So, you said, and what is good credit? I mean, what would you consider to be good credit and versus what is bad credit? What is considered good credit and what's considered bad credit?
Okay, good credit, if you want to define it in a number, would
Yeah.
probably be 700 scores or higher. But
Uh-huh.
and bad credit could be under 620. Most of the lending industry, as far as the mortgage industry, and requires you to at least have a 620 score or higher. Anything under that, there's a lot of exceptions that have to be made. So I'm just talking in one aspect for mortgage loans. For car loans and et cetera, they have a whole nother set of guidelines. But for my specialty, it's in mortgage loans and trying to get people into home ownership. I would like to see a 620 or higher, 650 or higher if you want to get the down payment assistance, et cetera. Their score guidelines are a little higher if you're getting grant money. Sometimes I can do 620 to 650.
Can you purchase a house with a 500 credit score?
FHA allows you to do the 500 credit scores. There's a lot of reasons why people have a 500 credit score. It may not all be negative information. It could be just a lack of credit. A lack of credit can give you a low score. And when you're under a 620, you're going to usually have to have manual underwriting. Manual underwriting is the underwriter will look at it manually and kind of determine if you're credit worthy or not. If it's a lot of collections and stuff that got you down to 500, that's one thing. If it's a lack of credit that got you down to 500, that may not be bad. You may be required to put more money down. So there's exceptions that are going to be required for you. You may have to put more money down. You may get a higher interest rate if you're under 620. So that's where the credit repair comes into play, that we try to get you at least to 620 so that you won't have to deal with exceptions and manual underwriting. But yeah, they say you can go down to 500, but it's very hard to get it. Probably, so it's not as easy to get it as if you were 620 or higher.
So it's better, like if you're interested in getting a house or making a large purchase, it's better to have your credit score at 620 or
Yeah.
above.
Yeah,
Uh,
because they're not, the borrower is usually not gonna like the stipulations that come with having an under 620. So it all
mhm.
sounds good till you start telling them the conditions of the loan, that in order to get the loan, you gotta put 10% down versus 3.5, and a lot of times they won't be able to do it. So it
Mhm.
could be an impossible dream at the end of the day.
Well, you talked about collections a few minutes ago. I mean, how long do those collections stay on? If something happened to you and maybe you lost your job and it went into collections, how long does that stay on your credit report?
You can, in the mortgage industry, in the mortgage industry, we kind of only look back 12 months to
Uh-huh.
24 months. But
Uh-huh.
as far, as far as they give you an opportunity to get back on your feet and not hold the past against you as much. But
Mhm.
in a nutshell, as far as inquiries, they usually stay on your credit report for about 25 months or 2 years. Late pays stay on around 7 years. Collections stay on around 7 years. Unpaid tax liens stay on about 10 years. Paid
Mhm.
tax liens stay on about 7 years. Judgments about 7 years.
Mhm.
Chapter 7s and 13, chapter 7 is 10 years, and chapter 13, 7 years. So
Wow.
yeah, it stays on there, and unless it's an error,
Mhm.
then it can possibly come off.
Mhm. Mhm. So that's when you have somebody like with the credit repair to look at your credit to
Hmm.
see if it's an error or so you can
Right.
get it
What we
correct.
do what we will do with Advanced Business Solutions, I'll tell you a little bit about that. We're a
Uh-huh.
business resource center that offers credit repair and a variety of other services, such as we do taxes, we do rentals. These are stuff outside the realm of the mortgage industry. We do taxes, rentals, lease purchases, land contracts. We also provide home-based business opportunity, investor loans, business loans, commercial
Wow.
loans, private money, startup capital, modifications, anything that we can do, provide the necessary information and resources to get your business or yourself back on track. And
Oh,
credit repair is one of the things that we specialize in, because that's what we've been looking at for 37 years.
mhm,
And I'm in
mhm,
partnership with my family. Ashley's one of them.
mhm.
My son, Ricardo, my other son, Derek, my husband, Ricardo Sr. That's why we call us the Advanced Dream Team.
Oh, the dream
Add
team.
a Vance,
All
add
right.
a Vance to your life.
Okay, the dream team.
We've been
Okay.
holding on to this information. I've been collecting this information over the past 37 years. And like we say, it's time to bring it to the streets. We got to help people get back
Yeah.
on track.
Yeah, I mean, and so say if you've had unfortunate circumstances and that happens, stuff happens, and you have all this stuff on your credit, it's going to take 7 years before you can get back on your feet, or can you do anything?
Well, you can start disputing it through the credit repair and see what we can
Uh,
get. And what's left on there, you're going to
uh,
have to substitute it with other good credit, open up some new credit, because
okay.
there is life after bad credit. So we will negotiate things and pay
Uh-huh.
things off,
Mhm.
creditors off, and anything that you can do to clean it up and make it, look good again. And then maintain good credit. That's another thing that you have to do. You have to
Yeah.
maintain good credit, because as soon as you mess up again, you're going to go back down into the hole, and you got to try to figure out how to climb yourself back out. And, falling in the hole is quicker than getting out. So credit repair can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to a year, depending on the amount of credit
Mhm.
delinquencies that you have on your credit report. And
Uh-huh.
some things may stay and some things may leave. If the credit bureau will dispute with we will dispute with the credit bureau, who in turn will notify the creditors
Mhm.
and give them up to 30 days
Mhm.
to prove that that debt is, you know, delinquent, or
Okay.
whatever the situation is with that debt. And then if they cannot, then will have to delete it. And if they can, they need to update it. If there's either going to be an update or there's going to be a deletion, one of the two is going to happen.
What about debt settlement? I mean, when you make a offer to the creditor to pay off your debt at a lesser price, is that counted against you when you do that?
Well, it depends on what they put on the credit report. Sometimes they put settled for less or something like that.
Uh,
That
uh-huh.
that may not give you the ultimate score that you would get if you paid it in full and negotiate with the creditor to take it off. Because
Mhm,
sometimes when you pay it in full, they'll delete it. But if you don't give them
mhm,
all their money, they may leave it on. But it's
mhm,
still a paid collection. It's still paid, and it could
mhm,
help. It looks better at the end of the day. But sometimes when you pay collections off, sometimes if
mhm,
it's been in hiding or it's an old collection, sometimes it'll hurt you before it helps you. So those
mhm,
are things that we kind of go over with the borrower or the client and
mhm,
make a decision on whether to pay it off or not prior to getting the mortgage loan, because sometimes it can reduce your credit score, and underwriting may not care about it. There's a lot of times we don't care about unpaid collections if they're under a certain dollar amount.
uh-huh, uh-huh. So
So
it's
that's something that we look at when we analyze the credit report, what needs to be paid off and what doesn't, and what, we don't want to take a chance on reducing scores. So
uh,
we'll look at that.
uh-huh. So if you think that you have anything on your credit that may hinder you from purchasing a home, a large person, it would be better to go to someone like you to just look at it
Yeah,
and then and have it ready before you decide to make that big purchases.
correct.
Yes,
We
yes.
always advise people if they're trying to purchase to come to see me maybe 3 months, 6 months before they're
Uh-huh.
um, trying to purchase, to try to clean
Mhm,
up anything that needs to be cleaned up. Because
mhm,
once you go into contract, you won't have a lot of time. You only have 30 days, and that's
mhm,
just going to stress you out trying to clean up everything. So
mhm,
we like to have people come to us, like I said, 3 months to 30
mhm,
days, I mean, 3 months ahead, so
mhm,
that we can also run it through our underwriter and ask her to look at the situation to tell us if we're going to have a problem with this loan or not also. So we'll look at it. We may run it by the underwriter on their credit report, and then when they decide to purchase,
mhm,
they'll feel more comfortable about purchasing because they know that they're not going to have a problem.
mhm,
So
mhm,
sometimes we go ahead and get a full approval subject to them purchasing subject to them going into contract. So
mhm.
that when they do go into contract, they'll come with an approval letter versus a pre-approval letter, which will hold a lot more weight.
Yeah, when you have that approval letter.
Yeah,
Oh,
versus pre-approval.
oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
So they'll
yes.
completely look at the file just like you were in contract,
Uh-huh,
and then make a decision on it. And the
uh-huh,
approval will be good, as long as nothing changes with your employment or your credit.
uh-huh. Does savings have anything to do with helping you with your credit? If you have a nice savings, do you get more points for savings, or it's just primarily your credit cards and what you a mortgage and car? No.
Your assets help with mortgage approval because the
Mm,
more assets you have, um, the more stable you look, and you have reserves. So in case you lose your job, you have 2, 3 months of house payment in reserves, but it doesn't really help with credit score. The only thing that
oh,
helps with credit score is the credit on your credit report, uh,
oh,
how you utilize that.
uh-huh,
Whether you max it out, you don't max out your credit cards, the number of trade lines you have versus no trade lines, active credit versus non-active credit.
mhm,
That those things, your ratios to your credit, maxing a credit card out versus not maxing the credit card out, you'll have, more availability. The more availability that you have on your credit report, your credit utilization is lower. And then it makes it look like you're more stable. You're not using your credit cards to live off of. Once you
mm,
start using your credit cards to live off of, maxing it out, your credit report will tell us that you're starting to have a hardship. And when you're
mm,
starting to have a hardship, that's a red flag because lenders start to think maybe you're going to file bankruptcy or something. So
mhm,
you want to keep your credit card balance as low as you can, and you want to use them periodically so you can show activity, because a lack of activity, you won't increase your score. So you got to put $10 here and use it, pay it off in full, et cetera, et cetera.
What about paying more than what you what your payment is? Do you get any extra points? Say if my loan is $200 and I pay 225 every month. Does that increase your score any?
Um, yeah, it will increase your score because it'll reduce your balance to your limit. It
Uh,
also looks good with the creditor who will give you an increased limit. And there's
uh,
nothing wrong with getting an increased limit because then your utilization level changes and you have more availability than the amount of debt that you're in. And that's what you want to have. You don't want to be maxed out and not have any availability because that's going to put you into a risk factor. So yeah, that could possibly help your score definitely because it's going to reduce your
yeah.
balance.
When the creditor wants to increase your credit limit, that's a good thing. When to go on and do that, like you get notice from your creditor, I'm going to increase your limit to $10,000. Is that's good to have
Yeah, I
that?
would say, in my opinion, I would say it's good because that's what I'm saying. It may be scary for the borrower. You just have to manage your debt. You just have to, because you have it, don't mean you have to use it. So if
Yeah.
you have a $10,000 credit card and you only have $1,000 on it, then it's going to show a low balance to your limit, which is going to show you having more availability, which is going to increase your scores. Because if you max out your credit cards, it's definitely going to reduce your scores. And one way to increase your scores is through revolving credit. Revolving credit, if you keep your limits down, it will jump your score 50 to 100 points. But if you
Wow.
max it out, it'll reduce your score because now you're at risk because it's a make sense situation, you know.
What
If I
about
see,
paying?
I'd rather lend to somebody that has a lower limits, lower balances to limit than someone that has maxed out their credit cards because that person's evidently living off of it.
Okay. What about paying before the debt is due? My debt is due on the 15th and I pay it on the 8th. Do you get extra scores for that? Does that
I
increase your
don't,
scores?
that may be a question I gotta, research, but I don't
Uh,
think you get a lot. I think it just looks more favorable to the creditor. But I
okay.
don't think, see, the credit report doesn't really know your due dates. So as long as you don't
Okay.
go over 30 days late, if you pay it early or whatever, it's just paid.
Yeah.
I don't think that
Yeah.
will increase your score. But if you pay it late, then a 30-day late will drop you just as quick as it took you up. So,
Mm,
you don't want to go over 30 days late. When we
mm,
look at the credit report, I don't know when you paid it. And I
mm,
don't know, how much you paid. I just know that you're not over 30 days late,
mhm,
you know,
mhm,
and it doesn't show us all that. And so
mhm.
I don't know if the lender will give you more points for that,
Give
but
you
I
more.
don't think so. I don't think so. It's
What
just,
about bankruptcy? After you file bankruptcy, can you file that? People say that you can automatically get credit after you file bankruptcy. Is that true?
yes, it's true. There is life after bankruptcy. You may not get the best credit cards or the best interest rate, or there may be fees involved. You got to read your fine print um, when you're getting credit cards. But once you
Mm,
file bankruptcy, you can't file again for 7 to 8 years. So to the creditor, you're less of a risk because you can't file bankruptcy on them because you already did it. So they
already.
don't mind lending to you and giving you a fresh start. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
there is life after bankruptcy. So no one encourages a person to do bankruptcy because it's
Yeah.
going to take you down before it brings you back up. But you have to do what you have to do because if you're going to be late on everything, then you're just as bad off as filing bankruptcy as being late on everything. So you might as well file the bankruptcy and get a fresh
Uh-huh.
start and get a fresh start.
Oh, okay. All right. And when you file bankruptcy, you have to give up some of your assets.
That's a trustee's call. Sometimes they may take your tax returns or
Mhm.
or any equity that you may have if you have extra properties or something. But usually they don't take the property you live in. They don't take the car you live in. I mean, the car you drive, they don't take, your property, only if it's extra assets, or maybe investment property or something. So that's something you got to discuss with your attorney.
With the attorney. All right.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Oh my gosh, you got a lot of information.
Goes all upstairs and been
Oh,
holding on to it for a long time. So I'm trying to get it out.
hey, yeah, I can tell. I can tell
Yeah,
by the way you're answering those questions.
yeah,
Those are
yeah,
things that people really need to know,
yeah,
when
yeah,
before purchasing making a major purchase on what the credit looks like and how they can get lower interest or how they can even get loans,
yeah,
when they're
yeah,
trying to. So that is awesome. You
yeah.
guys, is there anything else that you would like to have the viewing audience know?
Okay,
That they need to know that I didn't ask.
okay.
Mhm.
Um, Let me see. I wrote some notes here, some extra notes here. Let me see if there's anything that you haven't covered. So we already talked about good credit and how to maintain good credit. So maintaining good credit, you need to really seriously get in a good financial habit of paying your bills on time,
Mhm.
reducing your debt balances, keeping your credit balances low. If you want to get the ultimate score, these are things you need to do. You need to pay off credit card debt if you want to. Um, but you got to be careful about that because sometimes when you close out accounts,
Mhm.
it could reduce your scores also. So, or if you have inactive accounts, a lot of times people don't use their accounts because they just don't want to use them. And then after 6 months or so, it's not even really reporting to your score because it's like it's ghost. So what you got to do is show a little activity on it. You want to only open new accounts as needed, because too much credit could become a red flag also. You want to review your credit report regularly. You can get it free every year on annualcreditreport.com. So you want to make sure that you look at your credit report at least once a year. You want to dispute anything that's on there that's erroneous and errors.
Mhm.
But one thing you want to do is you understand your rights,
Mhm.
through the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and protect yourself against fraud, because fraud is becoming very big nowadays. A lot of identity theft going on. So you want to, maybe get in some type of program that will alert you if someone's using your credit, because sometimes getting those things off is more of a nightmare than it would be for you to pay for a service to let you know when somebody's trying to pull your credit report.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we talked
Oh,
about how
I
long.
got one. I got one before you close. What
Okay.
about married couples? I mean,
Um,
are you separate? Is that a separate one or a joint credit report of when you're married to somebody?
Well, when you're married, you have your own identity. I mean, just because you're
Mhm.
married, you don't take on each other's identity. You have your own credit reports, and what's his is his, and yours is yours. The only time it's going to affect you is if you're applying for credit joint. And then if you're applying for credit joint, then of course it's going to be on both your credit report, on both of your guys' credit report. But
Mhm.
there's some states that are community property states that if you're married, then his credit is the same as your credit. But in Ohio, Texas is like a community state, but in
Mhm.
Ohio, everything's separate, you know.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, his credit's his and yours. Authorized users is another thing,
Mhm.
that people tend to do. And that's fine and dandy. That will help you increase your score, as long as the person that you're getting the credit from is paying
Uh-huh.
their debts on time.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I think Experian will, if that person starts to be late, will just take that off of your credit report. I heard that happens, but at the
Mhm.
end of the day, you just want to pick and choose who you're an
Uh,
authorized user for their credit report, for their credit. You just want to pick and choose that, because as long as they pay the credit on time, it's
uh-huh.
going to help you. But if they don't pay the credit on time, then it's going to hurt you. So sometimes people get on there for like 6 months till they can get themselves established and open their own credit, and
Mhm.
then they come off of that person's credit.
For having an authorized user.
Mhm.
Uh, 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 Something else I was gonna, and I probably it just slipped my mind. I was gonna ask you
Oh,
about the credit. I mean, there's so much
there's
I
a
don't
lot to it, and
know
everybody's
about.
credit is different, and so everything is tailored to that
Uh-huh,
person's situation. Everybody has different situations. Tax
uh-huh,
liens, you got to be
uh-huh,
careful with tax liens. If you got property, because there's going to be a lien probably against your property, so you want to
uh-huh.
try to avoid getting to, you know,
Getting at
stage,
that level.
yeah, at that stage of, you want to try to contact and make arrangements with IRS or whatever,
Mhm.
so that it doesn't attach to your property.
All right. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Now, how can somebody get in contact with you for if they want to get more information? I'm not. There's a lot more to me. That you just. I thank you for covering the
Yeah.
information that you did. But
Yeah. I'm
if they
trying
need
to
to have a
summarize
personal,
it.
I mean, individualized, personal consultants with you, how can they get in contact with you to get this credit in order?
Okay, they can reach me on my business line at 614-373-5119.
Hmm.
Again, that's 614-373-5119.
Hmm.
And then I'll reply back to them and call them back, or if I'm not available. And then I'll set an appointment with them to come to my office. We're located at 5340 East Main Street in the Whitehall area.
Oh,
43213, Suite 105. That's
okay.
5340 East Main Street, Suite 105. And that's where our office is. And that's where all the magic happens.
All the magic. So if you want magic to happen, everybody out
Right. Get on over here. Periodically, we have seminars because we do a lot for private money and
there.
investor loans, and
Uh-huh.
that we don't look at income and
Uh-huh.
stated programs, and there's just a lot, and each topic I probably need to come back on and talk about
Yes.
different ways that people can generate an income.
All right. And we will have you back on
Yeah,
the show.
yeah, because
And thank you for being on this week's program of Ask Yolanda in the Know. And I would like to thank Lynn Cole Realtors for sponsoring this show. Linco, they're the best. So
yeah,
call
hi Leonard.
Linco and call Tammy if you want. Before you call Linco, call Tammy and then call
Right,
Linco if you're looking for a home.
right. And
Thank
I'm
you,
serious.
everybody.
We seriously want to help all people get into home ownership, because you have to have a piece of the rock in today's time. Renting is becoming outrageous.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes. It's
yeah. So,
better to
and
own.
it's not guaranteed that you're going to stay there. They'll sell the house on you.
Yeah,
So, you
and
got
I've
to take
had
things
people say that.
seriously. You got to take
Yes,
it serious right now.
yes, yes. If you want to make sure that you're stable, own
Right.
it. Own
There's
it.
a lot of things you have to do to be stable.
Yeah,
Job, keep a
yeah,
job, et cetera,
yeah,
et cetera. So you
yeah,
just got to figure it out. People got to
yeah,
figure it out, or
yeah,
they're going to be out there.
yes. And Tammy Vance with advance credit. And also Lincoln Wrinkle Realtors can help you get on the right track. So call them. And thank you, Tammy. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
and it's Advanced Business Solution.
Advanced Business Solution. Thank you for
That offers
reaching
credit repair.
that'll help you with your credit so you can get
Right,
that big
right,
house
right.
and guess what? Owning a house, you don't have to pay that exorbitant amount of rent. Like Tammy said, you won't have
Right,
to.
right,
So
right,
it's best to
right,
own. But
right.
thank you for being on this week's program of Ask Yolanda Robinson in the Know. And thank you out there. Don't forget to push that subscribe button. So thank you for listening to and viewing Ask Yolanda Robinson in the Know. And I'll see you next week. Love you, and you can't do anything about it.
Thanks, Yolanda.
Thank